Maybe you can talk about, at least from an AE perspective, some of the things we do for our checklists.
So most of our checklists are in Confluence. So this is a product by Atlassian that we use. So if you use anything like Jira or Slack, it's all owned or co-owned by Atlassian. So we're a big fan of that. However, you don't have to use that specific platform. For my personal checklist in my personal life, I use Evernote for that. So I have a notebook called Checklist, and I have all my personal checklists that are in there. We use Confluence like on an enterprise level or company level, and then Evernote, or you can use something like Notion or OneNote. These are all things you can use. Whatever note-taking system or app you use already is probably suitable for that as well. I know some people have even like Apple Notes and use that for very simple things. And if you think about like your grocery list, that's a checklist in a way too, because most of the time you end up buying the same stuff anyway, like 90% of the time. So think about it. You're already using a checklist. It's not something you're new to. Imagine doing that for all the other things you have going on in your life. And in fact, at AE, we have over 530 checklists or SOPs, sometimes as we call them as well. And the SOPs are slightly different because an SOP is step one, do this, step two, through this, and make sure you're paying attention to this setting, blah, blah, blah. Whereas a checklist is more like, hey, did you do this? Check. Did you do that? Check. Do you have this? Check. So it's a slight variation of it, but the idea is the same. When you have this documentation in place, you're not trying to solve new problems every single time. So imagine if you have to make sure that the airplane is ready to go. If you don't have a checklist, you're trying to, one, rely on your memory, which we all know is a bad idea. Two, you're trying to solve the same problem over and over again. Before we take off, do I have to close the door? What do I do when I close the door? Do I have to put this thing here, that thing there? Like, you're trying to solve a problem that shouldn't be solved. With a checklist in place, you're just checking off what needs to be done. So that's another way to think about this as well. And all the other things we have going on in our lives, especially if it's a routine or something we do on a frequent basis, whether it's even just once a week, can probably turn into a checklist. So whether it's stuff you send to your bookkeeper or to your accountant, even if it's just once a quarter, that could be really helpful. For me, when I organize dinner parties, I have a checklist at home where I make sure, okay, let's make sure my place is clean and there's like necessary items in the bathroom. I make sure I hide certain things, making sure my place is ready. There's all these things I go through. And having done a lot of hosting, I now know, okay, when someone comes over for dinner or something, or I'm organizing something, here's the checklist I need to go through. Same thing when I go travel and I want to work out at a hotel, I have a checklist specifically for hotel workouts. I asked my trainer one time, I said, hey, when I travel and I go to a hotel, can you create like a simple workout program for me, like a checklist of do 100 squats or something, or do 100 push-ups or whatever. And then every time I travel, I don't think about it. I just pull out that checklist and just follow that workout in order. So you can get really creative, and there's all these things that you can do to create checklists.